Hi, this is DC20 Perception, otherwise known as Percy, and I'm getting off my butt after sitting on this avatar for 4 years because of spite. So, every time I see anyone make a video or post online about Rupture, I always see the same thing. Rupture's not in a very good state, all the IDs suck, it's too hard to keep count up, blah blah blah. Well, I've had enough of the absolute slander my favorite status in the game has been getting, especially for W Corp saying. I don't remember the name of the guy who made the video, and to be honest, I'm not going to look it up because people are allowed to have wrong opinions, and I don't want to send anyone after the guy. But there was someone who made an otherwise very informative and comprehensive video about the pros and cons of Rupture and what IDs to choose for it, and a general guide on how to play it. But the one thing he said that I couldn't forgive was that W Corp saying was the good unit for Rupture. And there are several reasons why he's wrong, and I hope that I'm going to prove it with this very quick and dirty, very little edited video. To be honest, it's more about Rupture in general than just Yi saying, but I did want to harp on Yi saying specifically. Pretty much all this is in one take live, so I apologize for any verbal stumbling or errors on my part. Okay, so first of all, let's take a look at the ego gifts. As you can see, there's no tier 4 gifts, no lunar memory, no thrill, no thunder branch, etc. I sold all the ego gifts that give Rupture count to prove that you can play the team and stay count positive if you know what you're doing. Most of what's still there is to give myself a little bit of extra clash power and HP regen because it's hard mode, and I don't feel like restarting the recording 500 times. It's still going to be harder than going up against the event node outside of the mirror dungeon, which is why I'm doing it this way in the first place, since I don't want people saying that the run doesn't count because the boss is too easy, or, you know, I could have chosen a better one, or blah blah blah. With that out of the way, let's get into team select. Alright, so this is the team that I'm going to be going with first. And this is not an optimal team. I'm kind of doing this to prove a point. These four, I consider core team members. These two, I'm just putting it in to fill up 2 slots and go outside of my comfort zone to show that it can still be good even when I'm not playing with the optimal team. So what is the optimal team? It's actually just these 4. Give Yisong and Lobotomy Corp Don 1 extra slot each, and the team works a lot better. It's way more consistent. You get a lot more Rupture count. Faust is a good clasher, and she does good damage, but she's actually pretty count negative. Heathcliff is pretty good for count, not fantastic. He does have good Rupture potency application, but he's a better option than pretty much everybody else, and I think you do want at least 4 members. He is better at applying count than Faust, though, for what that's worth. Another bonus point for Faust is that she has fluid sac, but I don't really need to tell you that. An alternative choice would be to take LCCV Assistant Manager Ishmael and Gregor. If you don't know what the trick of it is, basically, Gregor has this ego right here that gives a nifty little debuff called Spark Discharge. Basically turns every Gloom skill into being at least Rupture count neutral, which makes it so that Ishmael is very Rupture count positive. The only ability she has that isn't going to be positive is her skill 1, which only has 1 coin, so it's only going to be -1 count. Everything else is going to be neutral or better. Gregor himself, though, not the greatest ID. I don't think I need to tell you that. His skill 2 is alright. Skill 1, kind of bad. Skill 3 can be good, but it's awkward if the target doesn't have any tremor on them. You really want Ishmael to already have used her skill 2 and then attack with this. It's just, it can be potent. It just requires a bit of setup. And so it's a little bit too much extra trouble for me. That's why I prefer just taking these 4. So, with that out of the way, the sub units, the units on the bench, don't really matter that much. They all add a little bit of extra stuff. Ryosha gives a little bit more potency. If you have Mersault on the bench, he basically gives enemies a permanent -1 clash power all the time. We'll get it right now. This right here. As long as you're using 3 gluttony seals every turn, which is not hard to do in a Rupture team, you can pretty consistently get 2 to 3 offense level down on a boss permanently, which is going to be -1 clash power to them permanently. not super consistent, but it's a very good bonus that you could get pretty often that affects your entire team if you're going up against a single target. Sinclair is the only one that really matters. I'm sure everybody already knows, but if you get 4 Gluttony Resonance, the target with the most HP will apply a lot of extra Rupture on hit for every hit. 4 Resonance is a lot, but it's not that hard to do in a Rupture team, again. And why am I not running Sinclair on the team? That's because I hate him, and I could rant about it, but I won't. The TLDR is I think that the playstyle he encourages is very dumb, and I don't like retries. Now that my rambling is aside, let's actually start this up. All right, so first of all, Yisang. He starts with 0 charge, and his skill 2 needs him to be at 10 charge to work. It's a really good thing then that his skill 1 gives him 4 charge. You use it turn 1, turn 2, he'll start with 3 charge, you use skill 2, it gives him 7, then he's at 10 charge. Before he even clashes, he gets the bonus from it, meaning that he's going to be rolling 17 and implying 3 Rupture and plus 2 Rupture count. It works turn 2. It's not that hard to set up. Alright, so let's get our clashing out of the way. We're going to lose a few of these clashes. That's fine. Really, turn 1 is just mostly about getting your bad stuff out of the way first. Lobotomy Dawn is not going to start very well because enemies aren't going to be having very high Rupture application for her to get her boost off, and she also doesn't start with aggro. I'll explain that in a minute. For now, let's just have Faust cover for her because that's a thing that you can do in this game. And then Yisang, actually, yeah, so she's going to do her role as a tank, give Yisang an unopposed attack, take some hits, hopefully not too much damage, even though she is Wrath weak. Unlucky. He got 3 50% rolls in a row, 4th 50% in a row. Unlucky, but it is what it is. Okay, so if I wanted to, I could do 4 Gluttony Resonance right away and have Otis apply a bunch of extra Rupture to one person. I kind of want to save that, though, for another turn, because none of these enemies are that strong. There you go. Okay, so let's get back to Yisang. So, here's a fun note about W Yisang. Because his skill 2, on the second hit, it inflicts 3 Rupture, and then inflicts 2 Rupture count afterwards, it means that the target is going to end the turn with 6 Rupture and a 3 Rupture count. Not 2 Rupture count, but 3. 3 is better than 2. The guy who made the video did not factor that in. It was one of the many things he got wrong. I think that's all of the complications I really need to talk about for this one. Otherwise, everything else is kind of basic, targeting logic, get defense on the tank for the one-side attacks, etc. I actually didn't even need to attack that guy. I don't know why I did. Could have just let him sit with the counter. And yeah, as we see, +6 coin power. The guy got that part wrong too. He thought he would have +5 coin power on turn 2. No, he has +6. Result gets staggered. He's not a very good unit. Like I said, I'm kind of handicapping myself by bringing him. He's not that bad, but he's not optimal. Alright. Settings at 9. Let's have him throw in another skill 2 on someone. This time, make sure not to attack the guy with the counter because there's just no reason to. Alright, so this guy... clash power of 20. So we're just gonna do a bunch of one-sided attacks against him to hopefully get him staggered before he can retaliate. Otis is gonna dominate this one because a whole bunch of passive activated at once for her. She's actually not that bad on a Rupture team. I wouldn't take her, but if you don't have that many options, she's actually not bad. Especially if you have her Ebony Stem ego. I didn't bring it because that would make this easier for me, and I'm trying to prove a point here. So Heathcliff, we'll use a skill 2 to last hit that dude, and keep going. Rip Bozo. Even with the two 50% heads, he still gets beaten down. Rip Bozo. And Rip Bozo. Alright, so I just spawned in 3 tough enemies. We're going to have to deal with those guys now. Luckily, we didn't spawn in the boss. And this is the one thing I will say that Rupture teams do struggle with, is fighting multiple targets, especially when it's a human battle. Because it's not as easy to apply stacks when you're doing basically one skill on them per turn. However, we're going to live with it. Alright, so Yisong can get a pretty good skill 3 off here. I'm not going to do it because I want to save it for when the mini boss shows up. For now, we're just going to throw a skill 1 out there. Let's see if Faust can get this kill. Result, can you get this guy? Probably, hopefully. It'd be nice if we could stun that dude. I'm not holding out hope for Dawn getting that one, but might as well try. We take the 50% chance shots on our tanks. Alright, she should get it here. If this guy doesn't keep rolling heads. If this guy doesn't keep rolling heads, thank you. Getting a little bit ridiculous. Again, these 0 sanity enemies rolling all heads. Project Moon swears the game isn't rigged, but we all know they're lying. I'm trying to use as few egos as possible, again, to prove a point. I could just ego spam, but I'm not going to. Also, not all of your difficult fights are going to be in mirror dungeons. You aren't going to be able to always rely on having these Sin resources to spam egos with. Sometimes you go in raw, you get 0 resources, you have to play the game. So I'm going to try not to use any egos until at least phase 2. This guy almost staggered? Yeah. If you're new here and you don't know why these skills go from neutral to dominating, again, yeah, you gotta read the text. Sometimes certain skills get a lot more powerful depending on conditionals. Since this guy has a lot of Rupture stacked up on him, 16-3. Yisane skill 2, awesome by the way. She gets 2 more coin power, which is pretty good. Oh, this is gonna mess up that dude. And since we can, I think we're going to have Dawn give this guy a little bit of a nibble. We'll have Yuseng followed up with a little bit of an extra nibble. Alright, well, it happens. Again, you know, you gotta accept that you're gonna lose. You have to accept some things. You gotta accept that you're gonna lose a 50% chance sometimes. No, 5% chance sometimes, I should say. Okay, so this turn we set things up so we should be able to get 3 kills all at once. Boss comes in, I don't have that many units to target. So let's try and get that done. So again, ordering. Because I'm having the person on the left go with an unopposed attack before the person clashing goes, I get to attack without a clash, which means this guy isn't going to live to beat Merceau. Foss should clean this guy up. Should. In case she doesn't, we'll have Heathcliff get the last hit here. Again, this is the weakest that this team is going to be in this fight. Alright. Thank you. Faust, 45 sanity, please. Thank you, Heathcliff. Okay. Now we can start pulling out our tricks a little bit. So, right now, Otis has the most HP. She's going to trigger Sinclair's passive. Highest resonance, ×2 talisman to ally with most HP. So, because of that, we're going to have her use her 3-coin skill. This is actually a bit of a trick. Okay, so I have to have Yuseng target 2 of these because I got unlucky and half of my units are the same speed as the boss, who has a maximum speed of 5, by the way. She rolled max. It's very cool when that happens. I could use Durante here, but again, proving a point. Not trying to use as few extra boons as I can. Alright, so let's have Yuseng go in for this skill 2. Unfortunately, I'm going to break the rupture count with Otis here. Really not ideal, but that's what happens when you bring in units that don't have rupture count on their skills. But she'll get a bit of extra damage and leave her at a good amount of rupture. As for Dawn, or so, just using the green skills here. Hopefully we mop these 2 up so we only have this one to worry about. Put it in. Yuseng rolls a 19 with his skill 2 because Yuseng is a good unit. Leaves her on 6-3. Faust wins the clash, puts her at 9-5. Boom, boom, boom. Otis gets a really high number here. Almost staggers the boss. So next turn, we aren't going to have to worry about clashing that much. Which is kind of just, even though I didn't get the ideal rupture count stack, there was still so much rupture I applied before the stack got broken that I was able to do almost half her HP and damage in one turn. And that's just kind of the power of Rupture right there. Even if you don't get the 99 stack, the fact that you apply the damage on every hit adds up real quick. And speaking of doing things real quick, we're just going to have Yisane go nutso mode here. Actually, okay, I don't want Merceau breaking the chain, so I'm going to have him just use a defensive skill. That's just, again, this is where skill expression comes into playing this team. Making little decisions like that instead of pressing win rate and just clashing with everything. It's a good way to like show off your knowledge and reward you for good play. All right, let's go crazy. I'd be very surprised if she doesn't die this turn. Honestly, I probably should have slow played this anyways. I didn't need to kill her this turn. I could have used the next turn to set up. So that's my mistake. But now we're at the boss. I did not factor in that Foss would have 2 skill ones this turn. That is my bad. So we're going to use her to offset his dodge. And hopefully that's good enough to make up for my mistakes. Otis also only has skill ones. Whoops. Okay. So I'm going to use her base ego. And everybody has this. This isn't me paying to win. You can all use her base ego. Heathcliff doesn't have very many great clashes here, but hopefully he gets it. If he doesn't, it's not the end of the world. Actually, I shouldn't be worrying too much about trying to get a stack up here, because this turn I'm going to be having Yisong use the thing that we've all been waiting for. Alright, we're going to take a few hits this turn. It's probably fine. Actually, you know what? Here's another ego that everyone has. Merceau. If you're taking Merceau, you get to use this ego. That's the reason to pick him. Alright, so Otis gets in, wins her class, gets her damage off. Heathcliff comes in, wastes a skill 1. Merceau comes in, cripples him for the next turn. Wins the clash and cripples him for the next turn. The last hit of Dawn's skill 2 is a lot like Yisong's skill 2 in that the third hit applies Rupture Potency first and then +3 Rupture Count. So when you use it, the target will end off with 4 Rupture Count. Doesn't really matter because I ended it with Yisong's ego, which unfortunately eats all the count most of the time. But fortunately, though, we get the boon of Yisong's ego, which is the reason I used it. Every turn, basically, he's going to be getting 4 extra charge count. So even after he uses skill 3 and eats 15 of his charge, he's going to get 4 more the next turn, which is going to always put him in range of activating his skill 2. Because, again, 3 + 7 is 10, 4 + 7 is 11. The on use activates before the clash. That guy's video was wrong. Yisong's skill 2 will activate immediately. And now we're just going to keep playing out this fight as usual. So, I will say, even though Merceau isn't optimal for this team in terms of rupture count application. Bringing in Merceau just for his ego is super helpful, and that alone might make him worth bringing onto the team, to be honest. Like, it wouldn't be my personal choice, and I don't like relying on egos. But again, that's not even a pay to win. That's just part of his base kit. So, again, let's get back into this. He's on 6-1. Heathcliff, skill 2, very good for continuing count because it's clash win. It'll, even if he's only on 1 count, it's going to bring up to 2. He's going to hit, bring it down to 1, and then the hit increases by +2, bringing him back up to 3 count. We're going to have Foss continue that. Yi Sung, unfortunately, only has skill 1s right now, but this will apply 1 extra count, so it will keep the chain up if it hits. I'm going to try and have Dawn hit with a skill 1 here because the skill 2 would break it. Then Otis, paralyze him next turn, please. Thank you. And you offset the counter, or offset the dodge, please. I don't want him dodging constantly. Nope, he didn't get it. Again, happens. Especially with skill 1s. Okay, so he's at 3 right now. Otis's 1 skill that applies rupture count came up. It is +1, so we're more than happy to use it here. Oh, we gotta be careful though, because he has 1 paralyzed, and these forecasts are lying to us. It's gonna treat it as if all the coins are +0. They aren't. However, he is at -3 sanity, so they're close to all being +0. And just real quick, what is this guy's skill do? The Parade's Prince is a +3 coin. So if he gets 1 coin off, it'll go up to a 15, which we would still beat. I think those odds are okay. Oh, and yeah, it's also going to have -2 clash power. So it's actually even better odds. Yiseng continues to only have skill 1s, which is unfortunate, but it happens. Even Ring Song would pull up skill 1s, which only have a clash power of 10, so it's not that big of a deal. Yi Song is clashing higher than Ring would have. Anytime he loses a clash, just consider Ring Yi Song would have lost it too. See if Merceau can win a clash. He can. And let's see. So I would actually rather have Faust offset this because Dawn can apply some extra rupture count here if all goes well. Oh, that was risky. Thankfully, though, the sanity didn't lie to us, and he actually did roll tails. Or, you know, sometimes they roll the 10% chance heads twice. You just gotta take it on the chin. Ah, okay, that was a misplay on my part. I should not have used her skill 2 because he was at too high of a rupture count. Dawn skill 2, if you didn't know. If they have 3 or more, you won't get the extra rupture count. You're only going to be, like, if you look at him, he still has 3 count, so it's not the end of the world, but it could have been better. But if I use her skill 1, I may not have won the clash. So I can't clash this guy. He's going to hit all 5 of these. There's nothing I can do about it. So I'm just gonna be oh, he's gonna get staggered. Unfortunate. What can you do though? So I'm just gonna have everyone block. block and dodge. And Otis is going to get a little bit of count here. I hope Merceau doesn't die. Oh man, that is a terrible turn. Ooh, I'm really gonna earn this one. Holy. That's unfortunate. Okay, so I need to tank these two. If I tank these two, these guys should live. Dang, dude. Alright. Oh, man. Alright, Don. Use your ego, please. Alright. Let's go. Alright. Not too bad. And because he's using all of his skills to target Dawn, we're going to be able to do some pretty cool one-sided attack plays. Probably, hopefully. Alright. Let's use that thing that all Merceaus are able to do again. One-sided, of course. Man. It is not making it easy for me. Oh, wait, right. I forget all the time that the calculations apply after you target. That's still hopeless, though. Let's check who's highest. Yi Song is. That's pretty good, actually. All right, so we're gonna give Yi Song. Oh wait, no, Dawn is. Okay, we can't do that. Never mind. Ignore me. Play here is we're going to try and stagger him. I don't think we will because 2,000 damage is a pretty big ask, but Dawn should be able to tank all this because she's a very tanky unit. Lust is ineffective against her. And we should get more Rupture application, set him up for a stagger next turn, and he's going to be clashing very low next turn. So let's put that in. Thankfully she wins the clash. Not that I ever doubted her, of course. That skill was AoE. Oops. Teehee. So skill issue. Really nothing else I can say about that one. I misplayed, so I got punished. We can still pull it back from here, though. He's at 92 Rupture potency. Even though he's at full health, this is still very doable. And that's the part about Rupture that's so cool. Alright, we are going to be using some egos here, though. Try and keep it a base. Dawn, do not roll tails. It is 5%, Dawn, please. Thank you, Dawn. Thank you for also piercing his evade. Alright, so every single hit we're doing now is going to be dealing 99 extra damage. 99 extra damage, each hit is a lot of extra damage. You know, just in case that wasn't clear. Alright, Yisung, if you could please win this clash. Ooh, that's only favored. No, it's dominating. He's at negative 24 sanity. If he rolls all heads, I will eat my hat. Okay. That's dominating. Goes from hopeless to favored. Okay. Again, he should be getting minimum sanity here. And his count going very high because W Corp Song applies a million count. So I can... Oh. He did the thing. I was about to say... Otis is going to die, but she's fine. We can use stuff like Otis's skill 3 and be fine because he has so much count applied to him. It doesn't matter if we use something that's 3 coins and count negative on all of them because we have so much count banked up thanks to Yi Song. And now he's pretty much just dead. And we're going to go ahead and just end this off in style if it gets to him. Fortunately, we got a lot of skill ones here, but it should still be enough. And that's it. I hope I showed that even with misplays, suboptimal build, suboptimal team, Rupture is still capable of dealing a ton of damage if you know what you're doing. I made a lot of mistakes in that, very obviously, but also I was able to use, you know, quote unquote skill expression, knowledge, etc., to make the right setup and then bring myself back, which is why I love Rupture. You can't do that with a lot of teams. If you lose any members of most teams, you're kind of just going to be done. Anyways, if you have any questions, you know, just ask and I'll see if I can get to them. Bye-bye.